Have you ever wondered if a beautiful home could absorb the pure evil that occurs within its walls? Few locations evoke as much global dread as the infamous address nestled quietly in a Long Island suburb. This is the estate that birthed a modern legend. A sprawling architectural marvel masking a deeply tragic history. In December 1975, a family sought a fresh start, purchasing the massive 5-bedroom home for a mere $80,000. It was a spectacular bargain, but the drastically reduced price carried a heavy, terrifying burden from events 13 months prior. The family believed they could look past the dark history, confident that the walls held no lingering malice. To make sure the home was safe, they invited the local priest to perform a standard, peaceful blessing. But as the priest entered an upstairs bedroom, the atmosphere grew heavy, and the temperature plummeted to a freezing chill. Without warning, a deep, disembodied voice commanded him to get out, accompanied by a violent, invisible strike to his face. Shaken and terrified, the clergyman dropped his holy items, realizing the immense scale of the evil residing there. He fled the property immediately, warning the family to never sleep in that specific room, a warning that escalated their dread. Despite his warning, the family tried to settle in, but the physical environment soon began to turn against them. The father began experiencing severe psychological changes, waking up freezing every single night at precisely 3:15 in the morning, the exact time the previous tragedy had occurred over a year ago. He became withdrawn, spending hours staring into the living room fireplace, obsessed with keeping the flames burning. His physical appearance deteriorated, his temper flared, and a constant, heavy dread anchored him to the property. In the dead of winter, thick swarms of black flies began congregating inexplicably inside the sewing room. A disgusting green slime was discovered oozing from the keyholes and creeping slowly down the pristine hallway walls. The mother began suffering from intense, vivid nightmares that paralyzed her with fear in the dead of night. She reported the terrifying sensation of unseen hands grabbing her, leaving distinct, burning red welts on her skin. Heavy, solid wood doors that had been firmly locked would violently slam open and shut, shattering the silence. The children were not spared from the terror.
I like playing hide and seek with you.
The entities seemed to target their innocent imaginations directly. The youngest daughter spoke of a new, imaginary friend, an entity she called Jody, who she claimed was an angel. But Jody was no angel. The entity was described as a massive, demonic, pig-like creature.
Look,
the beast was seen peering through second-story windows, its glowing red eyes casting terror into the parents' hearts. Outside, strange cloven hoof prints appeared in the pristine snow, abruptly ending as if the creature had simply vanished. Seeking answers, the father explored the dark basement, a place the family dog absolutely refused to enter. Behind an old shelving unit, he discovered a secret, claustrophobic closet hidden seamlessly behind a false wall. The walls of this cramped space were painted a stark candy apple red, the paint peeling like dried blood. It became known as the Red Room, a focal point of malevolence that smelled faintly of sulfur and decay. The family soon realized that the dark energy radiating from this room was infecting the entire house. The paranormal activity quickly escalated from subtle disturbances to violent, undeniable physical manifestations. The heavy garage doors outside began opening and closing on their own, banging violently against the driveway. In the kitchen, invisible entities made their presence known, knocking heavy, sharp utensils to the floor with deliberate force. The family watched in horror as a heavy butcher knife slid across the counter and embedded itself into the wood. Empty rocking chairs would rock back and forth rapidly, as if occupied by restless, unseen spirits. Beautiful crystal chandeliers swung wildly above their heads, casting chaotic, spinning shadows across the floral wallpaper. Telephone lines went dead, emitting only static and faint, distorted, evil whispers when anyone attempted to call out. The feeling of constant surveillance overwhelmed the family, as if every shadow in the house was carefully watching them. Solid wooden crucifixes hung on the walls were discovered rotated entirely upside down, a classic sign of demonic mockery. Strange greenish fogs would materialize near the floorboards, creeping slowly toward anyone sitting in a living room. Scrubbing away foul-smelling black stains in the porcelain was useless. They would reappear the moment you turned your back. Every locked door and every closed window provided no defense against an enemy that walked freely through the walls. The terror reached an unbelievable, impossible climax when gravity itself seemed to cease functioning within the bedrooms. The parents reported witnessing their 2 young boys levitating in their beds, hovering suspended in the cold night air. The father could only watch in paralyzed horror as the demonic presence asserted total control over his children. In the master bedroom, the mother was also lifted from her mattress by an unseen, oppressive force. She was violently thrown back down onto the bed, realizing that the house was now actively trying to harm them. The psychological toll was absolute, stripping away their sanity and turning their dream home into a suffocating nightmare. On the 28th day, a massive storm battered the coast, mirroring the chaotic, swirling terror inside the house. The phenomenon became so violent, so undeniably threatening,
Daddy, it's hot!
that the family realized they would not survive another night. In a blind panic, they gathered whatever clothing they were wearing and made a desperate run for the front door. They abandoned all of their belongings, their furniture, their clothes, leaving their entire lives behind in the cursed house. Fleeing into the torrential rain, they climbed into their van and sped away down Ocean Avenue, vowing never to return. The front door slammed shut behind them, sealing the malevolent entities back inside the empty, silent house. The estate stood serene the next morning, hiding its dark secrets perfectly behind a beautiful suburban facade. News of the family's terrifying escape spread rapidly, capturing the attention of the local press and the entire nation. The story ignited a media frenzy, turning a quiet suburban address into the absolute epicenter of the paranormal world. Famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called in to survey the property and capture scientific evidence. Equipped with infrared cameras and audio recorders, the investigative team stepped into the freezing, abandoned house. Setting up their equipment, they hoped to document the unseen forces that drove a family to abandon everything they owned. During a midnight seance, the investigators claimed to sense an overwhelming, suffocating presence of pure demonic evil. An automated infrared camera positioned on the second-floor landing triggered a bright flash in the pitch-black hallway. When the photograph was later developed in a dark room, it revealed something that sent shockwaves through the paranormal community. Standing in the darkness, peering out from a bedroom doorway, was the distinct figure of a young ghost boy with glowing eyes. This singular piece of photographic evidence became one of the most hotly debated artifacts in the history of ghost hunting. The quiet boathouse out back offered no solace, as the dark energy seemed to seep into the very soil of the property. The narrative spawned a massive franchise, with best-selling books turning the 28 Days of Terror into a global phenomenon. But with massive fame came massive scrutiny, and the true events of those weeks were heavily and fiercely questioned. During a polygraph examination, the parents passed the lie detector test, swearing the terror they experienced was absolute reality. Yet, skeptics pointed to severe financial troubles, suggesting the entire haunting was an elaborate hoax designed to escape immense debt. A lawyer famously claimed that the entire story was fabricated over many bottles of wine, in a desperate bid for a lucrative book deal. He argued that the layout of the house and its tragic past were simply used as props in a financial scam. Today, tourists still flock to the quiet street, pointing cameras at the house, drawn by a mix of curiosity and fear. Subsequent owners renovated the facade, altering the iconic windows and changing the physical address to deter the relentless onlookers. These later residents reported living in absolute peace, claiming they never experienced a single supernatural occurrence. New homeowners smile and shake their heads,
ghost in this house,
insisting that the only curse on the property is the constant stream of tourists. This quiet reality poses a chilling question. Was the house truly infested? Or did the evil latch onto the family itself? Did a dark storm cloud of negative energy truly gather over the house? Or was the storm purely psychological? Even a single child's toy left in an empty room can spark the imagination, fueling the legend of the haunting. The red room in the basement was dismissed by some as merely a poorly painted closet, devoid of any sinister history. Investigations revealed that local indigenous tribes never used the land to isolate the sick, debunking a major piece of the lore. Yet, the image of the demonic pig splashing through the mud continues to haunt the nightmares of those who believe. Vintage interview tapes capture the raw emotion in the mother's voice, a terror that seems impossible to completely fake. The story was adapted into blockbuster films, cementing the house's legacy as the ultimate haunted American dream. Audiences sat in dark theaters, gripping their seats in sheer terror as the legend of Amityville unfolded on the silver screen. The idea of descending into a dark basement to face an unseen evil taps into our most primal, deeply rooted fears. Why did the family dog refuse to enter certain rooms? Animals are often the first to sense what we cannot see. How could a house stand so still and menacing, while the lives of the people inside were completely torn apart? The image of a locked doorknob turning on its own is a universal nightmare, a violation of our safest spaces. Watching your own belongings fly across the room and shatter forces a confrontation with the impossible. Imagine the sheer psychological endurance required to stay in a home that is actively warping and breathing around you. What would you do if you looked in the mirror and saw a dark figure standing right over your shoulder, marking the calendar, counting down the days of survival? The 28-day timeline is a masterclass in atmospheric dread. Looking back at the house from the driveway, knowing you are leaving everything behind requires a fear few will ever comprehend. Fleeing into the night, the family traded their financial security for their lives, a decision that haunts them forever. Legal documents and court papers piled up, trying to dissect the truth from the fiction. But the mystery remains intact. The mother's tears on national television convinced millions that the trauma they endured was not a Hollywood script. Paranormal investigators stood by their findings, arguing that dismissing the entire event as a scam is dangerously naive. At sunset, the house still casts a beautiful but deadly aesthetic, a monument to the line between reality and nightmare. The dark waters of the river keep their secrets, reflecting the eerie silence that now surrounds the property. Approaching the house, even today, can induce a sudden sense of vertigo and supernatural dread in the most hardened skeptics. The iconic quarter-circle windows may be gone, but in the minds of millions, they still glare out into the night. It stands as a pop culture monument, an impenetrable fortress of myth, mystery, and endless ongoing debate. Every creaking floorboard and cold draft in an empty house brings the memory of that legendary haunting rushing back. The phantom sounds of a record player spinning in an empty room echo the tragic history that refuses to stay buried. No matter how much fresh paint is applied, the layout of the house remains a trap, a blueprint for terror. The story proves that the most terrifying locations are not abandoned castles, but quiet, picturesque suburban family homes. The red eyes in the dark stare directly into our collective consciousness, asking us what we truly believe in. A door slamming shut in the dark cuts off all logic, leaving only the primal instinct to survive the night. From above, the neighborhood looks peaceful, hiding the fact that it houses the epicenter of American paranormal history. The massive cultural phenomenon spawned by those 28 days of terror will never be truly replicated. Burning the photographs and debating the evidence only fuels the fire, keeping the legend of the haunting alive. If you are watching this in the dark right now, remember that the family in Amityville thought they were safe too. The silent mist rising off the creek is a chilling reminder that true evil does not easily relinquish its hold. The sound of heavy, monstrous breathing in a closet is a fear we all share. A monster waiting in the dark. Do you have the courage to uncover more terrifying true stories hidden behind the locked doors of history? Hit that like button if the legend of the Amityville haunting sent a shiver down your spine today. The truth may be lost to time, but the fear the story inspires is tangibly real. Do you believe the legend? Ring the notification bell to join our investigation into the darkest, most unexplained mysteries the world has to offer. Leaving the house behind, we are forced to wonder what unseen energies linger in the dark corners of our own homes. Jump into the comments and tell us, was it an elaborate financial hoax or a genuine demonic infestation? The legend thrives on the ambiguity, the terrifying possibility that at least a fraction of the story is entirely true. The door to the Red Room remains slightly cracked open in our minds, an invitation to the curious and the brave. As we walk away from the mystery, a chilling final goodbye echoes from the entities that may still reside there. When the moon passes behind the clouds and plunges your room into absolute darkness, remember the 28 days. If you enjoyed deep dives into the macabre, the unexplained, and the terrifying, you have found your new home. Never watch alone, because you never truly know who or what is standing in the shadows behind you. Let the vortex of history and horror pull you in. The mystery is far from over, and the truth is still out there. Subscribe for more terrifying true stories. And until next time, keep the lights on.